In this video, we'll talk about how to build out our site designs using Figma. In this case, we're working from a starter file that is as detailed as actually having the actual layouts prescribed for us, much like a wireframe, with just a little bit more styling for links and buttons. So we will have the freedom to apply our style all throughout this series of pages. And through that, we will create the actual pages for our 3 list pages and our about page, and then prescribe some template type styles for our articles and our products. We'll basically build one article that's a good representation of all the other articles, and one product that is also a good representation of the other products, and thereby prescribe the styles that we can use for those other as well, without having to design every single page. So in general, what we're going to do is bring over the styles that we have from our style tiles, and then actually incorporate the detailed content that we have, so the images and the actual content that we collected earlier. Along the way, we'll show you how we can make use of some efficiency features from within Figma to make all of this a lot simpler. And the core idea there is that anytime we can define a central source of truth for something and just create basically copies of that central source of truth, the simpler things will be. So one of the ways that we can do that is by using color styles. All right, so here is the style tile that we're going to be working from. We're going to be bringing over these type styles and these colors, and then we'll of course bring the other content things in. So to create fill styles or color styles, what we can do is basically create a couple of rectangles here. Oops. All right, so I know I'm going to want the fuchsia color, the orange, and the body color, and then the hyperlink color. So select one of these, and then we're going to go sample that color that we want to use. And then we're going to use this little drop down right here. This is always within Figma is going to represent styles that are available to us. You can see there are a couple of default ones that we can just disregard. We're going to click this plus sign and name this color style. So let's call this primary. Okay, so now you can see we have this primary color that we can easily apply to other objects within our project. Let's repeat the same process for our secondary color. So we sampled the color so that we could now go in here and add a new swatch for our secondary. Do the same thing for the other 2 colors. Okay, now that we have our color swatches saved, we can easily apply those colors elsewhere throughout the site. So let's have a look at what that could be like. Going back over to our site pages, let's go up to the site branding. Now, the site branding, like several other aspects of our site, is using something called a component. And this means that the objects here, the elements here, are visible as layers, but notice that they're highlighted purple. And the outermost layer here has a diamond next to it. That means that this is an instance of a component. That means that it is a copy of a centralized set of definitions for all the shapes that we have here. And what that means, more importantly, is that we have that central definition, and so if we change that central definition, all of the instances will inherit the very same settings. So it's very helpful for something like this that repeats on all of the pages of our site. So to get to that, you can right-click and choose Go to Master Component. Now, what we've done in this starter file is collected all of those components here on a specific page. So if we click on that, you can see all of the components. Notice that the master component does not have the diamond, it has the 4 solid diamonds next to it. That tells you that this is the master definition for a given component. So if we go in here and click on that shape, we can easily apply the purple or fuchsia color that we have just by clicking on that swatch. Okay, in fact, we can go in here and apply our hyperlink color as well. Neat. Let's go ahead and also apply the body color onto this tagline. Okay, so with just those few changes here in the definition of this component, they have automatically been brought over to all the instances of that component. Pretty slick, huh? It's going to make this site a whole lot easier to build. So let's take a look at another similar component where we could apply color, these buttons. We have two of them here on this main page, and then we have this one other one elsewhere on the site. So notice that you can provide overrides. We can come in here and change this one element's color to be different from the others. It's a very flexible aspect of Figma's color system. Okay, notice that I did that and it did not affect the other colors here on the main definition. So let's go over to the master definition for these and change the color. We really want them all to be the same. I was just demonstrating the purpose. So here we have this color and we actually want to use so we're going to make sure to get the actual rectangle there, and we're going to change to use the hyperlink color. Okay, so now when we go back to the site pages, you can see that that color has applied to those two buttons, and it's even gone ahead and overridden the change that we made here, which is nice, but it's a little trick to keep in mind that when you update a definition, it's going to push those changes out to all the instances of that component, which means that if you've made local changes, they may override. So just be careful with it. And don't be surprised if every now and then you get a central style overriding something local. Just keep a mind on it. Okay, something else we want to do is start to apply those colors out to our main headings throughout the site. So I'm going to select a variety of the standalone headings like these, and this one, and this one. And I'm going to go ahead and apply that one color of orange to all of those. Okay, that's looking good. The other elements are actually inside of my components. So I have several different components. I'm going to go to this master component. You can see we have one for the product tiles, one for the narrow version of the articles, and one for the wide version of the articles. Okay, so on these I also want to get that orange color coming through, these two here. So we're going to go ahead and change that fill color to use the orange. Okay, and then for the product, I think I'm going to use my fuchsia color for the price, or for the product name, but I'm going to use my body color for the price name. Price, that is. Okay, now down here, let's get the right colors applied into the details of these master definitions. So there's our body color. And then here in this block, we actually have both the body color and the hyperlink color. So you can certainly select the details here, but you can also select the block as a whole. And notice that it shows you these selection colors separate from the fill colors. You can do the same idea here. At this level, it automatically applies the colors into those particular elements inside there, which is very helpful. So we can even accomplish that same purpose by selecting this whole component. You see it's aggregating up all of the colors. We have that secondary color already applied. But here where we have this color, that's going to be, and we can actually see which elements by clicking on this target. It'll show us exactly which elements have that. Super nice. We can change this though to be our body color. Change this one to be our hyperlink color. And we're going to leave this one as is because that's just the placeholder for our images. Okay, I think we have applied our colors. Oh, we need it on the footer. So let's go ahead and apply that on the footer. Body color. All right, so that has gotten our colors pushed out to all the different aspects of our site. We switch back to our site pages. You can see that those colors are starting to work through already. Very nice. Makes short work of it, doesn't it? Now again, you can always go in and override the colors if you want to, but hey, why not be consistent, right? Okay, next up we want to actually bring in the fonts that we have set up, and not just going through and putting all of our fonts on, but we can even better make use of type styles like what we have set up here. So basically we have 3 different levels of headings, and then we have our body copy, our lists, our hyperlinks, which are actually the same as body, just blue, and then our brand color. Note though that the type styles are not going to inherit the colors, so it's just going to store the font, the weight, the size, and some of these other settings here. So those are good. It's very nice that we can then easily override the fill color as needed. So we've already gone and done that with the styles that we've applied already. But to create a type style, just select the element or the selection from within an element that has the style you want to capture, and use this drop down again to add a new style. a type style or text style, and we'll just name it. So this is going to be heading 1. This is going to be heading 2. This is going to be heading 3. This is going to be body. These are going to be list items. Okay, I'm going to also select my the bullets here and apply the list items to that. So I've got the thing selected. I click on the little grid, and I'm not adding a style this time. I'm choosing an existing style to apply to that. So now both this and the list items themselves have that style applied. This one is going to get the body applied, but notice that it did not override the color. That's fine with me. And so we'll leave that as it is. Actually, I think there is one thing I do want to do for all my links, and that is to add an underline. Realize that it's not here already. So what I'm going to do is go on here, and I'm going to disconnect it from body. So it keeps all of the body settings, but it's now not attached to the body styles anymore. So I'm just going to go on and modify by adding the underscore, and then we'll create a new type style. This will be called hyperlink. Okay, so now we have that style captured, and we can easily apply it wherever we would like. Okay, the one other one we might want to capture is our branding. So let's add one more style for brand. And there we go. All right, so now, just as before, this is a matter of going to each of the elements and applying the desired heading level. So let's start with our site brand. We're going to right click and go to our master component, where we can click on this element, and using this option, change to use the brand style. Cool. Let's go ahead and change our tagline while we're here to use body. And let's use our list items. I think we'll do the heading level 3 style. Obviously, these are not actually headings, but that doesn't mean we can't use the heading style for those. Notice that with these, it changed the arrangement a little bit when we changed the font setting. So I'm going to just go ahead and bring the alignment back in so that the left edge is aligned with the left edge of my brand. Okay, very good. So that is going to work its way out to all the pages. Let's go see how that looks. Pretty cool. All right, let's now go ahead and apply our next level of headings. We'll put the heading 2 style, actually the heading 1 style from our style tiles will be applied to these, but they'll actually be H2s in our markup, I think. So there, those, and then we'll want this one here to have the same style, the article title to have the same style, and the product name. Let's try that and see how it goes. So here we go, changing it to, actually to H1s, heading 1s. Okay, all right. Now there's spacing to be refined, but I'm certainly happy with how that's looking on these and the about page and the article. But I think I actually want to use the next level down here because this starts to feel a little bit overwhelming. If you hit Control or Command 0, that will allow you to zoom to 100%, where you can better evaluate the size of things in comparison to each other. So I think on this page that style is too large. Again, with CSS, we can make any element be look the way we want, so there's no problem to say, you know, maybe this one looks more like our heading 2 style, even if it has the same level of heading as this one over here that's a different style. No problem at all. Okay, so in terms of type styles, I think we can apply body to this one. And we'll apply body to this one. Let's go ahead and apply body to here. Let's see, that's kind of tucked in behind. So in order to get to it, I'm going to create a selection by clicking and dragging. Now it's selected 2 layers. I can see where they are on the panel here. So the author date is the one I want. I can click on it here. I'm going to go ahead and nudge it down so I can get to it easier. But I do want to go ahead and apply a body style to that for now. This is the first time that I've noticed that I may need some additional type styles because this I do want to look distinct from my body copy elsewhere, and that style appears several other places. It's going to appear here and also down here on my homepage. So I'm going to come back a little bit later and add another style for those. But let's continue on applying out the other type that we can. I think both of these can become body. Okay, I think we've hit on just about everything that is not in one of our master components. Yes, so these here I think are not in a component. So let's see, let's try to make this one look like a heading 2. And that looks good. And let's make this one be the body. Notice that they keep their colors, which is fine with me. I'm not going to pay a lot of attention to spacing yet. I'll come back and hone that a little bit later. Okay. All right, so I think we have hit everything. Let's now switch over to our components and apply those type styles on all of our components. Okay, so we're going to go with body on these two as well for now. But you know, I may head in a different direction with these a little bit later. Let's go ahead and also apply body on here. Now, notice that this one actually needs the hyperlink styles inside of it. So I'm going to just do just this one block right now to body. Now I'm going to double click into this shape or element and select the bit that I want to be my body style. And then select here the stuff that I want to be my hyperlink style. All right. Looking better. Oops, did I make this one? I did not make this one yet. I think it should be in a heading, nope, not heading 3, heading 2. Okay, I'll go ahead and note that there's a special setting here. Do you see how these 3 shapes here are grouped in something called a frame, and it has this special little icon? This is called an auto layout frame. And I have this set up so that they are going to automatically move down so that they always keep 10 pixels apart. So that setting there says they're going to be 10 pixels apart. So if this shape, actually you saw when this shape changed its size. So let's unlink it and just manually change the size to let you see. If I change the line height, that will change the size. And you see it's automatically pushing things down. Okay, so that's cool. That's what's going on there, and you are certainly welcome to change that if you don't like the way that's working, but this certainly keeps things simpler for us as we move on. Okay, once again over here we can apply our heading 2 style, and then we need our body styles here, but we do want that hyperlink to get the hyperlink style. Okay. Last of all, the footer and the button. So this button, let's actually use the heading 3 style, which is going to give us that cool all caps type look. And we'll go ahead and center it again in the space there. That looks good. And this guy, of course, we want to be body. Okay, so we've got our type styles worked through all of our components. We should see, actually, did we do it on these? Yeah, those are heading 3s. That's fine. Okay. Now we can work back out and see how those are being applied. Go to 100% zoom level and we can see all the better. Good deal. So see how easy that was to get all of our consistent type styles set up throughout the site? Now if you find that any one of these is not what you'd like it to be, you can edit that style definition pretty simply. Just click on the element that has, let's say this one here, that has the style, and when you click on the body type style up here, you can change it to something else, but if you want to edit it, you click on these little icon here, and then you can change those styles, and that's going to change it everywhere that it occurs. So you see how that weight changed everywhere? Pretty handy. All right, we want to go back to light. Okay, so as mentioned before, there are a couple places I noticed that I wanted to do some different things style-wise. Let's see, we had in the here we see the author date needs to be something else, and then our product tiles also I think I'd like to do a little bit more nuance there besides just a color difference. Okay, so I think what I'd like to do is to use a style similar to our brand where we do the all caps with a little bit of kerning, but at a smaller size even than our heading 3. Okay, so let's go back to our style tiles. Anytime we make a change that is sort of an overall style, I like to kind of reflect it here in the style tiles so that we have it as a reference. Okay, so I'm going to click and drag another one of these and another one of these out, and we're going to change it to, let's see, the author date could be called subtext, and what we're going to do with our product, let's call it emphasis. Okay, so this is just a label here in the document. I'm going to break from my central definition there. I'm going to take off the underscore. I'm going to keep the font size. Did you go away? There we go. I have to change it to something else. It's not a toggle. And let's change it to medium weight. Okay, so that's a little thicker. And then let's see, can we set a default color on there? In this case, I think I'd also like my default color to be a light gray. So I'm going to go up to my color swatches and let's see, let's capture another one of those gray tones and store it as a swatch. So we're going to break that away from the central definition and go choose maybe that one. And so let's now create a new swatch for this and we'll call it body mid, because it's a variation of our body copy, but in the mid range. Okay, I like that for the emphasis. Oh, you know, actually I want to make that one the fuchsia by default. It's the other one that I wanted to use for the mid-tone. Okay, it's fine. So let's go ahead and capture this as a new style. So we're adding it as the emphasis style. So we'll walk through a similar process on this one where we're going to break it apart from our other style. We're going to change the default fill color to our light. We're going to break out of the underscore, and then we're actually going to change to our other font altogether. And that was not the name. Nosto? There we go. Nope, what was that called? Jost. Just Jost. Jost. Okay, and it's much lighter. We don't want it that light. Let's do regular. Let's go to all caps. Let's increase our letter spacing just a little bit. You know what? I think I want that a little thicker. Okay. Maybe 1 pixel. All right, let's go apply it in place and see how we like it. Okay, I need to create a style first, so we're going to add a new style. We'll call it subtext. All right, create style. Now back on our site pages, we're going to go to some of those elements that we want to style that way. So one of those might be the tagline. So tagline here. Oh, I guess we have to go to our master definition. Go to master. And let's select this and change it from body to subtext, and change the color to that light color. Okay, let's do the same thing over here on the author tagline, Delio. So, ooh, that should actually be wider. Let's make that the full width. Now we're going to change this to subtext and change the color to the light color. Do the same thing here. It needs to be the lighter color and it needs to be subtext. Okay, I like the way that's heading. I'm also going to go ahead and make this footer be my new lighter color. Make it just push back in the hierarchy a little bit. All right, let's also make this price be the subtext and in the lighter color. Now this one is where I'm going to apply that emphasis style that I created. Yeah, that just helps those pop a little bit more. Okay, let's go see in context how that lined up. Good deal. All right, I like the way that's looking. All right, this guy here needs to get the subtext style like the other places that we had the dates and author. And this guy here also needs that same style. Okay, things are looking pretty good. Now, obviously, you are welcome to do whatever you'd like with your type styles, including breaking away from the master components if you want to do some different things. But that's how you can quickly and easily apply all of the different settings. Next up, we're going to begin to refine all of our spacing. So let's get in and look at what that's looking like. Basically, I'm going to click on my elements and hover over holding the Alt key to see what the spacing is looking like. So first of all, I want to make sure that all of the elements are consistently spaced away from the nav bar the right amount. So you can see I'm just clicking and just validating that across all of my different site pages. Okay, so we're consistently 50 pixels away from the top on all pages. Okay, next up I'm going to come in and begin to evaluate how each of the elements are spaced apart from the others. So this one is 10 and I'm happy with that amount. This one is 10 and I think that looks good as well. It could be actually pushed a little further away. Let me see what it looks like with the price closer. Yeah, actually I think I like that. I think I like the price close and the text pushed away. So again, I'm going for multiples of 10 to just keep things simple. And here I can see that the buy now is 25 pixels away, so I'm just going to nudge it down. So I need to click on buy now. I can hold Alt and use my arrow keys to nudge it up and down, and 30 is looking good to me. Okay, I don't want to push it too far away that it actually gets, too much space gets created there, but I want it to kind of look balanced, and I think that's a good balance. All right, here, let's see, the image, let's see, this one we validated that was the right amount away. Now this one here, you can think of it similar to the price, the date, the price and the product name, but because the hierarchy is different, I wouldn't mind if it was different here. I think what's attracting my attention more so though right now is that the image feels too close. So I'm going to select both of these and push them down. Let's try 40. I think that's too much. Let's go to 30. Okay, yep, 30 from the top here to here. Now, if you didn't know this, you can nudge up and down with the arrow keys, but if you hold Shift, it will move in increments of 10. So that's an easy way to move things around a little bit larger, as well as locking them in at that desired increment. Okay, so 30 pixels away here felt about right. And then now we want to think about how far this is away. And it looks like it's 25 right now. Let's push it to 30. I think I can almost go 40 on this one. Yeah, I think 40 looks better. Yeah, we'll stick it with 40 for that one. Okay, moving on over to the About page. Let's think about consistency. So where else have we used this style on the article page? And we had the author right underneath it, so they're different enough. I don't know that we need to do anything particularly consistent there. But that's 10, that's 20, that's 30. That feels about balanced to me. So good deal there. Actually, I think I want it closer. Yeah, closer looks good. So what I'm looking at is the spacing above. I like the spacing above. It's a good amount of spacing that helps separate this heading from the nav bar. But if I had the same spacing here, it breaks a little bit the grouping that I want, where I want this content to feel like it goes with that heading. So by pushing the text closer to the heading, that helped it feel grouped closer together. So we ended up with 30 or 20 there, and then 50 above. Okay, so for these, we would be going to the master component. So let's go to master component, and let's see what we have here. 25. So let's see if we go to 20. That looks better. Let's go back to see it in context. Yeah, that definitely helps. And each row is 50 away from the other. That looks good to me. All right, next up, let's go check out these master components again. Okay, so elsewhere we had nudged the author date line right up underneath there. Oops. Okay, so in this case, I realized that we have some auto layout going, where this is like we looked at elsewhere. It's in this little frame, and we have a setting of 10 pixels. So if we take it away from that, it's going to mess with the frame a little bit. So what I'm going to do is drag the author article title out. Okay, then this frame needs to come down. Okay, so that it's sitting directly below the article title there. Okay, so now I have these two locked together, so they will continue to flex at 10 pixels apart. And now I'm going to do a new frame around these, and they will remain 0 pixels. So the bottom line there is that I want this stuff below to flex as my article title grows long. So you can see if I copy paste that and we wrap to a new line, see how it pushes down automatically, and that's what we want. That's kind of a nice feature that we want to take advantage of. So again, all I did was drag the article title out. I'm going to put it up top. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why it does that. Oh well. Yeah, so I drug the article title out so that the inner frame is still its own thing, carrying these two where they are spaced 10 apart. Then I made the article title and that frame grouped as a new frame, spaced 0 apart, so that as that article title changes its height, the rest will flex. That is a good thing. Okay, we may need to do something similar here. Yep, looks like I have these inside of a frame, so I'm going to drag that out of the frame, then grab the frame and position it down so that it is 0, spaced right below that article title. And then once again, I will create a new frame with the auto layout here, 0 pixels apart, and we are back in business. Let me just test it out again like I did in the other case by just pasting a long title. Good, looks like it wraps just the way it should. Okay, all right, good deal. So we've fine-tuned the spacing. Let's just check that one. And let me just, yeah, okay. Because it's auto layout, they should be good. Okay, let's check the spacing up here. I see that we have 5 there. Let's bring them 0. And let's see how far our nav bar is away. It is 25 away, so let's bring it. Now it's 20, and we'll get these centered back in the middle. Okay, all right, let's go see how everything's looking in context. Looking good. So our top spacing should still be the same, but now I just want to check that spacing down the page. So let's get this guy, all of these, let's nudge them down so that they are 20 away from the top there. And we'll want to do the same on this side. Okay, top spacing here is good. 50 down there. Okay, top spacing there is still good, and 50 apart there, so we're still good there. This one's still good. This one we had fine-tuned, so I think we're still fine here. It's 30, that's fine. Okay, we did this one already. Okay, so all that remains now is we need to do the footer on every page, and we just need to look at the rest of the home page here. So let's think about this home page. Here we have 50 below here. I think I want those articles to push a little bit closer to there. So let's nudge them up to 30 away. Yeah, I like that better. Enforces their grouping a little bit more. The separation here I don't mind. I think that helps with spacing out each item one from the next. But I think I like the article pictures being closer together. All right, so now we just want to make sure these buttons are all consistently spaced away. I think 50 below the bottom is good. And let's see what we're doing out here. This one was 30, but I think the context is different enough that that's okay. All right. Last up, let's get that footer right. And I noticed it doesn't look like we're using our footer component consistently. So let's talk through how to get that footer working consistently, because we have a component that it looks like we're not actually using here. All right, so here's how this is going to work. We're going to go over to Assets, and this is where we can see the collection of all the different components that we have available. So here is our footer. So we can click and drag that out, and there we have another instance of that footer. All right, so what I want to do is generally see that it's 100 below the bottom thing on the page and 50 from the bottom of the page itself. So now I'm going to copy that, come over here and paste it. It pasted way too high, so I'm just nudging it down now. So we want it to be 100 below the bottom of the text and 50 below or away from the bottom of the page. So I need to make the page taller. There we go. Paste it on here and do the same operation. So 100 away. And you can do whatever spacing you think looks good, but just try to be consistent throughout your page. Okay, that will help you later if you're consistent. Paste here as well. Okay. Last one. So 5 more there. So we need our page overall to grow by 5. Okay, what am I doing? Okay, so a little keyboard shortcut I may have failed to notice or to note earlier is that if you have an element and you want to change its size, you can certainly come over here and manually adjust the width and height, but you can also adjust its size by using the Command or Control key. Hold that and then use the arrow keys. So I'm pressing up now and you see that that height is diminishing 1 pixel at a time. If I hold Shift, it will diminish 10 pixels at a time like that. Okay, so again I can hold Alt and hover over to see, okay, so that's 40 pixels too tall. So I'm holding Command Shift and doing the up arrow 4 times. And now it's 50. Okay, so we're 100 away from there. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nudged it down. Okay, so then the box here needs to increase by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down arrow key presses with the Command key. All right. And we are in good shape. All right, so we've honed the spacing. Our site is looking very nice and consistent. And now what remains is to actually get our actual content in place. So let's start with our images. And let's start on an easy page like the article and the product. Okay, so thankfully we've already sized our images correctly. So let's see, let's use this one for now for our sample article page. So we've already sized these correctly, so it's just a matter of setting that right on top of the shape we have from our wireframe. And then let's actually go and remove that original shape so that it's not going to accidentally cause any extra artwork there. Okay, and the spacing is looking good. Hey, that's looking pretty sharp, isn't it? Let's put a product in here. Now the actual decision should come down to what content we want, so we may come back and change this later, but let's go with the large laptop image. Back over here we can paste it and drag it right on top of that shape. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that nice? Okay, let's go remove that original shape. All right, we are looking good. All right, now for these, if we had not already placed or sized our shapes, what we can actually do is use the shape that's part of our component, and we can go in and change that fill. So we could go and change the fill to an image, and then go choose that image from our our file somewhere. So we could simply definitely go and choose those images and replace them. But since we already have the images, I think what I'll just do is lay them over, and then we'll be able to see them in context. So let's grab all 5 of our small images and paste them in over here. And then we'll just put them in place. So we used the laptop as our first image. I think the headphones will be our second one. And let's use the laptop for the third. The table for the fourth. And the LumaCube for the fifth. Okay, so now you can see that I was not 100% spot on with all of my spacing. So I'm going to go in and hone that. Basically, we want to make sure that we're perfectly covering up the original shapes so that we're in the precise spot they need to be. And that's looking good. All right, so I want to find my original. Okay, actually, the original shapes are in the master component, so that's fine. We're just covering them over for now. Okay, so as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, with so much white space around these images, it's actually kind of confounding a little bit the way the price and the product name are placed. So I wonder if this would look better if I just add a thin stroke around the outside. A stroke is another name for an outline. And I'm going to just add that light color there. Yeah, I would like to not have to do that, but if I need it, I need it. I do think that helps enforce the grouping a little bit. So I'm going to go with that, but you do not need to do that on yours necessarily. You can certainly make your own decision. All right, let's grab our article images. So these are the small article images that we need here. And we'll just paste them in down here. Get them closer together so I can grab them easier. And we'll place them in. So I think our first one was this guy. And then let's do this one. Again, we may need to adjust these once we check what we actually want in our content. Okay, now we're going to just go in and make sure that we've perfectly aligned things. Looks like I'm a few pixels off there. Okay. All right, look at that. What fun. Okay, so these two we want on the home page, so let's copy them, paste them, and place them. We want the large version of that main image though. 1 pixel off there. And 1 pixel off there. Okay, so we're going to want our larger version of the article, but let's go ahead and grab our first 3 products to place over here as well. Laptop first. Actually, it's the laptop stand, isn't it? I'm going to do the alignment trick so that I'm not spinning my wheels for so much trying to get those aligned when the computer can do that for me, right? Okay. All right, let's just go get that main article image, so the large version of the guy at the computer. And we're going to just align it. All right, now this pasted on top of the other shapes that I have there. So I'm going to go down now and drag this guy down so that he's below those shapes. Realize there's actually a group there. Let me drag him in and carefully place him below the overlay but above the image. So I'm going to delete that original image. All right, now the overlay. Let's fine tune this guy's color because he's black with a 60% opacity. And I think I'd actually like him to be, let's go and use one of our shapes. Let's use the body color. But I did like that semi-transparency. However, now that I've applied this style, I need to use the layer transparency to change the color instead. So let's go there. Actually, I wonder what it looks like with my hyperlink color. Ooh, that's nice. Let's go to 90 for that though. All right, I want to change this hyperlink little guy over here to use my heading 3. And then I'm going to just need more space and have him right aligned. Okay, zoom in and let's check out the alignment between them. Okay, so what if I put them on the same baseline? Gonna drag up and look for that. There we go. Okay, so I made it wider than I needed. So let's go. Now it's the same. Let's just change those edges. Okay. All right. Happy with that. Okay. Looking good. All right, now basically what remains is to put my actual content in. So let's just do a little bit of that, and then I'll let you finish out what you have in your site. Ooh, it looks like this guy needs to be, all of his font settings need to be updated. I wonder why that didn't get our type settings. So we're going to go put body on that, go inside. Sometimes a good triple click is needed. And let's use the hyperlink style on this guy. And the color should be accent. Is this guy's color body? Yep, this guy's color is body. Okay. All right, so we were talking about getting our actual content in place. Okay, so let's just stay here on the home page. I'm going to pull up my content that I had collected earlier on in the course. So let's see, this article is this one on why Slack works when you work from home. So let's paste that in. Okay, so notice how this is larger than the space that we had planned on for it. So we have some options. On one hand, we can try to make this box wider, and it's going to bump into our text there. So if we make it narrow enough to fit, it's still going to push to another line. So let me try to use my third level heading. Oh, that's going to change it to this. You know what? It's not so bad. Yeah, I think I did like it as the heading 3 better. Okay, so let's make it narrow enough that we get 2 lines, and then let's adjust the size of our box here. We're going to adjust it to an increment of 20, so there it is at 120. I'm going to center it in that space, but I'm going to try to keep the, let's see, make sure it's roughly centered. Yep, it's 20 pixels away from all edges. Then I want my read more link once again to align with the baseline here, so we're going to drag it once again until we can see all the baselines are aligned. Good deal. Okay. Cool. So there we have that actual heading in place. That is good enough for me. All right, let's get 2 other articles. So let's see, oh, actually I did do the wrong one. So remote workers share how they manage their, that one is this one. I did the wrong one. Same problem though. So it's good we solved that. All right, so now why Slack works when you work from home is this heading here. Delete the extra space, and our word wrap has shown us that everything works out just great. So January 1st, 2020. And I think I'm going to use the whole word. We have plenty of space, but we're also going to put in the author. And let's see what the first paragraph does in terms of filling out this space here. Yeah, that looks good. If it takes up too much space, we can always truncate it a little bit. Now that I'm seeing the way that this is wrapping with 2 lines, I think we have a spacing issue that we need to work out. And I think that we're going to need to push those, author date further down. So even though we showed this earlier on, I think we're going to revert back to what we had before. So I'm going to go to my master component, and I think I want all this to go to having the 10 pixel space below or above again. So all that means is we're going to ungroup this outer frame, pull the article title back into the frame, but we're going to put it up in the order. So everything is 10 pixels apart. And it needs to get it back up in proximity to this. I think we had it at 20, right? Okay, that's better. Yeah, I think I'd like smaller space, but I think by the time we have a second line, it doesn't look quite right. So let's do the same thing over here, where the article, we need to ungroup that outer frame, drag the title back in, get them positioned back at the top. Okay, they're all 10 apart there. Yeah, I think that's going to be better. Okay, see that spacing? That spacing feels better to me. Now our button needs to get pushed down. It was 50 away from everything. Okay, I like that there as well. I think this guy was the other one. So let's see. So let's go 10 apart. Actually, yeah, let's go ahead and drag this guy down 10. Okay. And yeah, this guy should do the same thing, shouldn't he? Consistency, right? I think it still looks good. Okay. And let's get this other article in. So this is the online learning one, tips for online courses. Here it is, 8 strategies for getting the most out of an online class. Okay, there may come a point where we decide to truncate the title overall or adjust the title. What? I don't think I can change that title. I think it needs to stay all 3 lines. All right, so now we need to move this down to 50. Okay, so see how nice those components make it when we have all those styles in place and we have the auto spacing going. It sure saves a lot of thinking and a lot of work on our part, doesn't it? Okay, so you can see what that process can look like, and now it just remains to go through and apply all that other content to our other pages, which I will zoom ahead and do, and you should do on your own project as well. All right, so let's take a look at the finished product here, where we have all of these pages designed out and looking nice and neat and consistent. All right, so a couple of notes. First of all, I wanted to point out that I made sure to be super consistent with my spacing. In this case, trying to stay at multiples of 10, there's nothing magical about that. There are other courses you can take down the road that will teach you more about what we're doing in terms of vertical rhythm there. It's more about the baseline leading than necessarily that there's anything magical about multiples of 10, but certainly makes it easier as we bring this stuff over into our build out to have multiples of 10 instead of all kinds of odd numbers. Okay. On the article page, I wanted to call out that I switched to, oops, I forgot to put the title in on that one. Switched to the Slack article instead of the one I had selected just for prototyping's sake. So you can see there's the title. Let's get that author date stuff in. Okay, nudge that up, and then I'll nudge it back down when I'm ready. Okay, so 10. Okay. And the reason I did this is to be able to show several levels of headings and therefore get more specific about my spacing. Let me just fix this page real fast because we want it to be 50 from the top, and then we need the whole page to get 50 taller so that we've got everything spaced out. So you can see there the consistency I'm trying to bring in terms of spacing. But back to the copy here, trying to show the different levels of headings that I might have in my content, as well as showing the style I might go for in terms of spacing for each of these. So I started by pasting all this content into one block and then applying my type styles to the appropriate lines. But what I found was that that did not respect the line before and after spacing that I had. So what I ended up doing, which is a very common thing, is I broke out some of these elements into their own text blocks. So you can see this heading is in a block on its own. If you do that, be very careful not to drag the height of that block because that's going to goof with the actual sizing. What you always want to do is make sure that you're on this setting right here so that the height of the block automatically adjusts based on the size of the elements inside of it. That makes sure that the overall space there is going to match better what we have in the browser with the leading and other things like that. You can certainly set the fixed width in which it will wrap. That's what this middle setting is all about. And so that's a good thing to do. Now we just made sure that we had nice, neat multiples of 10 in the spacing and that we achieved an overall visually pleasing spacing that also helps enforce the hierarchy. So some of the elements I was able to leave in one block because the spacing after setting was working as I expected it to, and things turned out to look very nicely for all of those. But you can see that these were made into their own blocks so that I could separate them out the amount that I would like to demonstrate there. Okay, so there we have the article, the about page. Now your about page may be short like mine is, and we don't want the heading or the footer to be right up tight underneath this, so we may do some special settings just on the about page in order to get this spaced out the way we want it to be. But we don't want this much space to be on every page, so we'll treat it differently, and you'll see how we do that when we move into the mock-up. All right, the product page turned out nicely as well. I did decide to reduce the amount of space between my rows to 40 pixels instead of 50 pixels. You are also welcome to make changes like that. And I was also looking to see how a multi-line wrapping situation worked out, and I'm pleased with that. Notice that I did keep the baselines aligned at the top baseline for this area, whereas you saw me aligning the bottom baselines over in this area. And there's just different design reasons why you might do one or the other, but there's a sense to look at that. In my articles, oops, looks like I forgot one of my titles there. Again, thanks to all of our auto flow settings, our content flows nice and neatly. The thing that we want to watch for has been created just by that little change that I made there, and that is that this ended up pushing below the bottom of my box. Now I have two options. I always want to make sure that I have consistent spacing, and so in this case this is sticking down a little bit lower. So one option would be to take these lower options or boxes and make sure that they're all at least 50 below that bottom space. Although I think in this case it's a situation where I might rather truncate. Oh, actually I don't even have the actual paragraph in there. The problem may go away when I put my actual paragraph in. Looks like I just forgot this one item. Okay, yeah, so the problem went away where now this is taking up less space and that read more is not pushing down below. If it was, I might decide to truncate it, cut out the last sentence or put an ellipses at the end. And there's any number of things that we could do. But I think it looks neater to have these images, these larger blocks, all consistently spaced, and therefore all of the content over on the right sitting inside of that space. But you may need to make a different decision. The bottom line is be consistent with the spacing, but bear in mind that it needs to be with the spacing from the last element that sits on the bottom. So in this case, that's all images, but in your case, if the text grows longer, you may want to push things down to keep that consistent spacing. Not much else changed over here on the home page, other than that we did, like on the main product page, reduce this space to 40 pixels. But everything else we kept as consistent as we possibly can. So for a finishing touch, we're going to make sure to get our actual site name in. So I want to go edit that in the master component, Remote Life. Tips and tools for successful working from home. Okay. Now, one other thing that we want to think about now that we've looked across the whole site is how we're going to indicate. Oops, it looks like we need to move our masthead up 5 pixels on every page. So I might do that later and not burden you all with that for right now. But the thing I was starting to talk about was how we will indicate in the navigation which page we are currently on. We usually do something in the navigation to indicate that. You may change the color of the text. You may put a little pointer or some sort. One of the techniques that I often use is to just basically put a little underline below each of these. So we're going to actually have to draw this in. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to make it white so that it's the same color as the background, and so that notch you see will kind of create the sense of this is different, we are here, sort of like the old tab-based indicator. So I'm also going to, I've resized it so that it's exactly the same as that text box right there, but I want to actually let it stick out 10 pixels on each side. So I've just nudged it over and then resized it. So I'm just going to match that on all of my other pages where the appropriate page is selected, just resizing each one to start at the size of the text frame itself. And then let's see, I have 2 pages where article needs to be selected, so let me paste that over here. It needs to be above the masthead in order to be visible. Okay. All right, so now we need to do the products one. Do it here and then slide it back over. And this gives us the appearance of having selected items on the navigation. Okay, now we can call our website design process completed.